Jamie, would you like to go ahead and just kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GovAI Coalition's October Vendor Demo Day. So great to see you all here. I'm Jamie Waskalis. I'm the chair of the GovAI Coalition's Use Cases Committee. And we've decided to close out 2024 with a series of vendor demos that promote safe, responsible, and value-driven AI, really focusing on the partnerships that we have in the public sector with our vendors. I'd like to thank my colleague Angela here, who really helps keep things moving forward. She is full of great ideas and really helps us keep creating content and information that's really relevant to the group. So thank you, Angela, as always. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time talking though, because I do want to get to our demos today. So a few things that I want to remind everyone. So when the vendors and our public sector partners present, they have about 10 minutes to present. So just 10 minutes. We want to hear both from the vendor and the public sector partner. For those of you who came to our September demo day, you really, I think, could hear and feel the value from our public sector partners who talked about the value that these AI tools or platforms were bringing to them. So that's what we're really excited about. Our vendors cannot directly solicit to the group, but they can leave information with us about their services and how to contact them. And we're also going to be recording these demos and providing the presentations afterwards, so you can share them out. If you hear anything that's really compelling, you want to include other people, please feel free to share out this information. We only have 3 demos this month. One of the group needed just a little bit more time, and we will hopefully be seeing them in November. But I'm really excited to see the value that these partnerships are bringing to the public sector. And so I'd like to get started. We are going to start today with policereports.ai, and we'll be highlighting the partnership they have with Lebanon, New Hampshire. So if I could get Melanie and the Police Reports AI team, you can go ahead and kick it off.
All right, great. Everyone can hear, I hope. So I'm really excited to do this. Like everyone, it's always a lot more valuable when you can find someone who's actually using a product and they're having a great experience. And we're having a really great experience with Police Reports AI and their module for EMS Reports AI. I think I first came across them in a webinar early in the year. As soon as I saw the demo that they were doing in another group, I was just really blown away because it really matched a problem that we were trying to solve in our own city, which has to do with our public safety workers, so our police officers, our EMS teams. And one of the jobs that they have to do is that they have to write a narrative, a report every single time that they go out. So they already have to go out and they have to, chase down a lot of really hard situations and deal with a lot of really difficult human challenges. And we can't fix anything in their job about that. That's the nature of their job, and we can't change that. And the one thing that we can change, though, and that's what we're always looking for, is how can we make their job a little bit better? How can we make it easier for them? And one of the big problems that they have is really with the amount of time it takes to report and do the reports that come following all those events. So if you can imagine that an EMS person goes out and they save a life, if someone's maybe had cardiac arrest and they've had this very big event happen, at some point in time, they have to go back and write that narrative, and they have to submit that to our state. And that's a time-consuming process. And in that process, they have certain guidelines that they have to meet. So, they have certain criteria, like it might not always be intuitive that the person writing the report would remember to say, oh, I checked their vital signs. Like, of course they did. They just saved their life and brought them back to life. Like in that process, they did check their vitals, but they might forget to put that in the report. And so part of this process is making sure that they captured all the information that needed to happen. And the other barrier, besides just getting the report done, was getting it submitted to the state, who has a certain software platform where they had to go in, update, and put their information into it. So after they would get that report done, they would almost have to redo that information and re-enter a lot of the same types of information into the online portal. So that was taking, they kind of did some math, and that's one nice thing about the public safety sector is they always can tell you how long things take them. And so they were saying it was taking about 40 minutes for, a report to go through. And they've told me that they're down to about 10 minutes now, give or take, but that's the average. So that's a significant amount of time that was saved. But beyond that, they said that the reports are a lot better. They're not missing the information and, that they might have been missing before. They're just a lot more, the reports are just better that they're coming out of that system. So they're very happy with it. And our fire chief did say that the morale is also lifted. So like those are a lot of different wins. We're always looking like how much time does it save, but it's also made a better product, like a better result coming out of it. And just the fact that morale is lifted is a pretty huge statement in my opinion. So we're really happy with that. And the vendors have been awesome about working with us. It wasn't an easy task to break down our state. Our state is not like the most innovative, and trying to work with something like that. And for them to go in and be able to make that integration, and they made it look so easy. It's just been really great. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let them present. This is Chris Ryan from EMS reports, police reports. I'm not sure which one, we have both. And he's going to do that demo for us.
Thanks, Melanie. And thanks for letting me be a part of this, everyone. And like Melanie said, our partnership with Lebanon has been great. They're one of our first clients. We're a company founded by law enforcement officers. I recently retired back in March. I was a patrol commander. I retired after 15 years in Florida at a 100-person agency or so. And the founder was a friend of mine, also law enforcement. So again, the big thing with, especially as you all know, with public safety and government tech is that, you have to understand the workflows of what the processes are. And that's a big part. So we pride ourselves in having contact with our clients and developing for their specific workflow. So I'll just get into a quick demo, like Melanie was saying. Our platform is completely web-based, and it's not a replacement for any existing records management systems or things like that. It's literally a complement to make public safety professionals more efficient. So this is an example of what the login page looks like for one of our clients in South Florida. This is one of the law enforcement agencies. All of these different modules are customizable. So we have a lot of contact with our clients, and we go through the whole build out and development process with them one-on-one. So I'll give you an example of just how we make the law enforcement process easier, and then I'll show you Melanie's example with the EMS side as well. So as you can imagine, police officer goes out and let's say they get a call for service for a vehicle burglary. When they do the investigation, it would take probably a good typer 25-30 minutes just to complete this report. So with our system, they would just select the most appropriate module, and they're going to enter their incident location and an agency case number. And what we developed, and especially with the newer generation, what we saw is that typing in English and grammar isn't what it used to be. So when we developed the platform, officers can type in here to get the raw data in, but the thing that our public safety professionals like the most is just being able to dictate what happened. And it's not like dictation software, like I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, where you'd have to, new paragraph, comma, period, things like that. We set it up so it's very conversational. So imagine a supervisor shows up on the scene and asks that public safety professional, hey, what happened? And that new younger officer can explain exactly just how they would be talking to a partner or a supervisor. So I'll just do a quick one real quick so you guys get the idea. So if they're using the system, they would just click start recording, and then we have other options for people in the field that may not have access to their laptop right away or things like that. On October 15th, 2024, I got dispatched to a late reported vehicle burglary. A female called dispatch and said that her car had been broken into. I arrived on scene and made contact with the victim, Jane Smith. Jane explained she got home from work on October 14th at about 6 p.m. And when she came out to go to work this morning at about 9 a.m., she found her driver car door open. I looked in the car, saw it had been rummaged through. I contacted a forensic specialist who responded. and they process a scene for fingerprints and DNA. When they were done, Ms. Smith and I looked in the car. She said her $300 Ray-Ban sunglasses and $4 in loose change was missing. I gave her a victim rights notice. I started a neighborhood canvas. I talked to 2 next door neighbors who didn't see anything. And I then talked to a neighbor across the street who had a Ring doorbell camera. We looked at the footage and saw that at about 3 a.m. on October 15th, 3 subjects were seen going in the victim's car. I got a copy of the footage for evidence and forwarded the report to detectives to follow up. So when that officer for this example is done, they just click stop recording. They can start and stop as much as possible. If they get another call for service, they just click stop and it'll pick up right where they left off when they get back. We have an option too, again, for those people that might not have a laptop or things in the field with them. They can do voice memos on a DAT recorder or their cell phone. And when they get back in front of their computer, they can drag and drop it right here, just like an email attachment, and the same functionality is going to be there. So when the officer or the public safety professional is done, they just agree to the terms of service. And all our terms of service say are that you as a public safety professional, it's incumbent upon you to review everything and make sure it's accurate. We've developed our own large language model, so it's a closed large language model, mainly for privacy concerns, especially for CJIS, for law enforcement data, and HIPAA compliance for our EMS personnel. So no data is going to any other third-party LLM vendors or anything like that. We also, again, for that public safety aspect, we can control writing level at which it's written based on the input from the agency to make sure it's formatted appropriately and everything that needs to be in is in the generated narrative. So after they agree to the terms of service, they just click generate. And over here on the right will be the generated report. And it's in the format that the agency wants. So if they don't write chronologically, we can totally edit it to whatever the agency desires. And to what Melanie was talking about too, the improvement in reports, we also have checkers implemented. So when the officer is done, they can click check right here. And they go back and regenerate, and it's going to analyze the content of the narrative based on that specific agency's policies and procedures and what those supervisors are looking for in the report. So we think of it as a virtual supervisor that checks it before it gets submitted to an actual supervisor, again, trying to get that improvement in processes and things like that. For the EMS example, this would be the same thing. So a paramedic, like Melanie was explaining, goes to a chest pain call. Again, the medic would just dictate what happened. That report is generated in their format. And then from here, this is where we integrate with their records management provider. So once the report's done and it's analyzed or it's reviewed by the paramedic, they click post. What that did is just reformatted it to then be able to fill the report in their records management. So this is their New Hampshire portal that documents patient care reports. So they're just going to go in here and it's going to completely fill out all of the aspects of that report. Again, just expediting those time savings for that paramedic. As you see, it's all automated and it's filling out all the different boxes, medications provided, chief complaints, and all of those things. So when it's done, it's complete and the user would use it, review it, and be good for submission. We have
awesome. We are at time. And we want to make sure that we keep to our time because we have a number of other vendor demos coming up after us. But this is really compelling, and just Melanie's story of how much time it has already saved them is so great to hear. We do have a couple of questions that have come up in the chat, so I would like to bring those up. There was a button that you showed, the CGI replace button. There was a question about what that button does.
Yep, so that is a option for, and I'll go back and show you here. So for example, we know not everyone spells names the same or things like that. So let's say for this example, Miss Smith spelled her name differently. You would just in this first box type how it appears in the transcription, and then you would type how you would want it to appear inside the generated narrative. So the user doesn't have to go through and make complete edits through all of that.
Great, great. Another question, how does your platform deal with PII data, CGIS, HIPAA data?
Yep. So we exceed both CGIS and HIPAA safety security standards. And we also, what is different about us and other, some providers is we offer client-side encryption. So when we onboard an agency, they create an encryption key that the users enter. We don't have access to that encryption key. So all the data is encrypted client-side. Again, our large language model, we don't train on any of the data. We don't have access to it. So we have zero access to any PII or CGIS or HIPAA information.
All right, wonderful. Y'all, that was super quick and awesome. Thank you so much for presenting today, Christopher and Melanie. Very compelling. We need to move on to our next set of demos. So they'll be providing the presentation to us. We'll share it out to you all. It'll have contact information if you want to reach out for more questions. All right, so we would now like to move on to our Cogability demo with the public sector partner Hillsborough County Tax Collector's Office, which is located in Florida. And I understand that it has been pretty busy down there. And so we really, really appreciate you coming to us today. So if you would like to take control of the screen and kick off your demo, we'll start the timer as soon as you're ready to go.
Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, hear you great.
Perfect. Okay, so here I go. So
okay, 1 minute. I'm still seeing policereports.ai up there.
Should be sharing.
It looks good on my end.
Does it? There we go. I got it.
Terrific.
Perfect.
Okay, so so my name is Jim Hoskins. I'm the founder and CEO of Cogability. We're an artificial intelligence engineering firm. I'm going to go really fast for the sake of time. And then Brendan from the Hillsborough County Tax Collector's Office is going to talk about how they use AI to accelerate their success there. So here I go. So I'm an electrical engineer from the University of Florida. I went to work straight out of college for IBM. IBM put me on the space shuttle program, working on with the onboard avionics systems, doing some early AI work for them. Then IBM put me down in Boca Raton, Florida on the personal computer development team, where I work with various AI labs around the world to do interesting things for that project. I wrote some books about technology that did well. So I left IBM, started my own company a long time ago, and been doing interesting things ever since. Fast forward to a few years ago when IBM announced their Watson brand of AI technology. We were one of the first companies they invited to work with the system, and they hired us to do a large scale enterprise application on top of it. They were trying to build a nice ecosystem around it. So we started looking at the building blocks and realized they wanted this application to be deployed in 175 countries, 450,000 employees in 11 languages. So we started looking at the building blocks and realized they had some nice pieces of technology, but there was no infrastructure in place to manage it and deploy enterprise applications at that scale. So we decided to pause and build that first. So we worked with the Yorktown Heights Research Group of IBM and also the Watson Group in Manhattan, and later the University of Florida, to build two things. One of them is an infrastructure software layer that orchestrates AI technology from IBM Watson, yes, but we're an open, independent engineering firm. So we work with all of these partners that you've heard of: Microsoft, OpenAI, Amazon, NVIDIA, Meta, you name it. So we can plug and play in that orchestration layer the pieces that we need. And the second thing we built was a virtual software environment on top of that called Cog University, C-O-G University. It's the first university in the world dedicated to teaching machines rather than humans. All of the students at Cog University are AI creatures we create with our client. We call them Cogbots, C-O-G-B-O-T-S. And just like a regular student at a regular university, we operate semesters. Each semester, the students are registered in courses, and then humans act as faculty members to teach the Cogbots what they need to know. These humans are general purpose AI creatures. They have some basic skills, but then we have to teach them what they need to know to then serve as a digital employee for the customer. So we, just like at a regular university where a human student can study astronomy or law or politics, at Cog University, we can teach a Cogbot to do anything that today's AI technology can do from all of those partners that I mentioned. And tomorrow, when they announce something new, we'll be able to do that sort of thing as well. So let me give you an idea of the kind of things to give you an idea of the breadth of what a Cogbot can learn to do. So, it's a different way to deliver AI. These are general purpose creatures that are trained to do a task, and they can be learned to do many, many tasks versus a point solution that might use AI, and that's all it can do. So anyway, here's an example. So you think of it as hiring a digital employee to work in your office. And here's an example of a digital employee named Allie Gator that works for the University of Florida as a chatbot on their website, their social media, and everything else. I like to show this because this is a large screen kiosk version where the students can walk up and ask and talk with Allie. But the biggest point I want you to walk away from is that at Cog University, we can go way beyond chatbots. Chatbots is a great place to start. It's a great return on investment, lots of value there, but it's just the beginning of what we can do. And to give you an idea of the breadth of what a Cogbot can learn at Cog University, I'll just show you a couple of other examples here. So this is a Cogbot named Catherine who's learned to predict the outcome of a pitch in baseball based on the pitch's spin, its speed rate, its final position. Is it likely to be a ball, a strike, a home run? Here's another Cogbot named Cami that's been trained to identify the species of a sea turtle in an image and to predict its weight based on its carapace length and width. Then Cami's also learning to operate remote vehicles on a simulated Mars surface at the University of Florida. Now, I know that the public sector doesn't need Mars rovers roaming around their office, but the point I'm making here is that wherever you choose to roam in terms of artificial intelligence in your organization, your Cogbot can learn to do all these different things that you want them to learn to work in your office. So let's wrap it around now to state and local government. So that's what we're talking about today. We're very strong in this market and safe and responsible. In case you know IBM, you may know that they're famous for their security, and I was raised by IBM. So security's in my DNA. We work with healthcare, we work with universities, we work with public sector, clerks of court, tax collectors, property appraisers, municipalities. So we're used to dealing in highly regulated environments with high security requirements and public sector space. So I'm not going to go through all this detail, but safety and security is the first thing we do, and then everything else comes after that. We have AI safety guardrails. I will mention CJIS, that was mentioned a minute ago, the criminal justice stuff from the federal government. All the people who work on CJIS data in our organization are background checked, fingerprinted. We're all ready to go. We've been trained on that. Same with HIPAA for healthcare. We deal with that all the time. We have healthcare customers and we deal with that kind of data. We know how to do that. So let me keep going. We work with lots of different counties, from small to large, like small Monroe's, the Keys of Florida, up here in Miami, and you'll hear today from Sophie Hillsborough County, from Brendan in a minute. I told you all the different departments we work with. We're used to dealing with all those. These counties all share data. So you guys, if a new organization wants to use a Cogbot, we can bring in all the data that has been developed by others to train them quickly and get them working very fast. Okay, so this is an example of a course. So think about at Cog University, we have a course catalog just like at a regular university, and you get to pick what courses you want your digital employee to take to prepare to work in your office. I'm just going to highlight 3 examples. This is employee support course, EHR 3120. In this course, your Cogbot ingests hundreds of procedure manuals from the state, the county, whatever, even HR manuals and such. Hundreds of manuals get ingested, and then the Cogbot immediately learns to answer questions, so that when the staff has a question, instead of having to find a manager and stand in line or something to get an answer, they can just stay at their station and ask their Cogbot, and the Cogbot will look in the hundreds of manuals, find the right information, compose it to a bespoke answer to the user, and present it to them. So that's one example of a course. The second one I'll show is customer service. This is one where the Cogbot learns to answer all the questions that come from the public. Hundreds of questions, hundreds of answers come with this system that have been developed by the different departments in traditional county and municipal governments. Improves customer service, reduces call center volume, saves a lot of money, and improves customer service because they can get their answers 24/7. The last course I'll mention is intelligent process orchestration. This is where we can take any workflow and your Cogbot can learn to do it. So in comes a document, a human has to look at it. Is it filled out properly? No, yes, okay, it's good. Then the Cogbot will extract the information and enter it into data systems. Just like a human, Cogbot can learn to operate a keyboard, a mouse, and read the screen of a computer system to do this data entry. Cogbots can do repetitive, boring tasks faster, more accurately, and at lower cost than a human, freeing the human to work on more complex things and work directly with customers and things. So those are some of the courses that we offer at Cog University. It's a managed service model. It's a way where we can make sure that the Cogbots operate effectively at all times. It's on us to make sure that it works well. We don't just give you some tools and say, good luck. We're there. For example, every Cogbot, just like
Jim, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but you have about a minute left.
Oh
so
my
we'd
God.
love to hear from Hillsborough.
Go, Brendan. Go, Brendan. Go, Brendan.
So, Hillsborough County Tax Collectors, we serve as an agent for a lot of state and local departments. We have a breadth of service, probably see 1 million customers a year. Our tax collector was elected a couple of years ago. She was just reelected. One of the things that in government that's important to us is we need to meet our customers where they're at, and they are at their phone, at their computer. And so providing services through a chatbot, and it's not just a general chatbot. We use Sophie. Yes, we're very affected by the hurricane here. In fact, our office has been closed for a week. One of the greatest things that we've been able to do is Sophie has been working and helping customers in our community throughout the week when we couldn't be there. Yeah, she chats with you and gives you some basic information, but some of the cool things that we can do is we can look up property tax records. We can help customers make appointments. She will ask questions and triage information. We can estimate, we trained her to ingest about 1.5 million records of transaction data and determine what the costs are associated with a particular transaction. So we can feed that information directly to our customers. It was important for us that it was aligned to our strategic priorities and our vision of the organization, and accessible services really is that key. For us, in the 3 years that she's been operational, we've seen about $1 million in savings in terms of people not having to call our contact center. And she's answered almost 600,000 questions from 300,000 individual customers that didn't need to come to our office. And for us, that employee that sits on our website is really helpful in working with the public on a regular basis. I know we're right up on that time, so don't want to go. Yeah, there we go.
All right. I'll give you 15 more seconds, Brendan, because you came to us when you're doing the recovery and trying to get everything moving forward.
Yeah, I think that really covers what we wanted to do. We've continued to add classes like Jim was talking about. So our Cogbot probably has 4 or 5 different skills that we've continued to add, and she exists on our social media. That was one of the biggest things to this. People reach out via social media during an emergency, and Sophie has probably 600 responses that she can provide, and is really good at helping triage those customers and let them know what's up. It was very helpful.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have a couple minutes for questions. I think the first one in here, do Cogbots also work on property valuation per mass appraisal? I have a student group doing research on this topic.
So Cogbots can learn to do anything that today's AI technology can do. If you have the data that we can teach the models with, then we can do that sort of a task. I'd have to know more about exactly what that is, but we do work with property appraisers regularly.
Wonderful. Any other questions from the group? All right, so glad to hear that this is helping you during this time, Brendan. Thank you so much, Brendan, for being here, and Jim. We really appreciate this, and we'll share out the content after the session.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to actually head out to continue cleaning up from the storm. So
good luck.
appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Brendan, and thanks everyone.
Guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. All right, that leads us to our last bunch here. We are introducing Synergist and the State of Montana Health and Human Services to close out our vendor demo session today. So I see Carrie, and then Brad was just here. There he is. Oh, unmute Brad.
Can you hear me just fine?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll begin and then I'll hand it over to Carrie. My name is Brad Levine. I'm with Synergist Technology. And as we begin, I just want to clarify, we are not an AI software vendor. Our goal is to provide the technology to allow all the wonderful AI software vendors that you see and going to see and are going to be coming to manage and monitor those solutions. The point I want to make is you're going to see the number of AI regulations explode. We're currently tracking a little over 600 legislative proposals across the United States. At the federal level, there's well over 100. And then there's different memorandums. There's the EU AI Act, which is probably one of the most far-reaching initiatives. And then you have a few frameworks. Everybody on this call is going to be affected by these rules that have already passed or are in the process of being passed or debated. And that is what we're here to show you. So when we look at AI governance in the spectrum, you're going to see it from AI discovery. What do I have? What's coming down the path? What software do I currently have that people have embedded AI already into it? What are the compliance frameworks? What are the workflows associated? What assets am I monitoring? And how am I reporting this back out to multiple agencies that are requiring you to provide this information? And so we address all these different angles and different aspects. So one of the big questions we get is, what is AI monitoring? And it's really looking at the output that the AI is producing. So you have it from security and performance isn't really, is it fast, but how accurate is it? Is it drifting? Is it operational? Is there bias and fairness? And what you're going to start finding is the definition of what you're looking to monitor is going to change over time. So we're showing you as a framework of how it all comes together. So when you start implementing great technologies like we saw in police reports or Copilot, you're going to have to bring it all together and report on it. Where is it going? How is it being used? Is it transparent? Are we meeting the definition of the laws? And so you have three components that you're going to have to think about. And the first is, what AI am I using? The second is the technology around AI that you're looking at, and how are the laws being implemented around it? And the last one is, how is it being interpreted? Because that interpretation of the AI, as technology grows and is used in more creative ways, is going to change how the law is viewed for the use of those technologies. Bias for one city is different for bias in a different city or a different use case. So we're going to look at, bias and fairness monitoring, drift, performance, model cards, and put them all together in one file package for you to look at. And what we're talking about when we get to bias and fairness is, what's the intentional, or how can it be replicated across the platforms? Okay, and we'll give you the ability to manage that. The same thing goes with drift detection and performance monitoring. How well are you doing over time? And the last is model cards. And then I'll just jump to the system. And can you see this new screen now?
Yep.
Great. And I'm going to go pretty quick on this so you can see it. You see a dashboard, and we can have the inventory tests, system alerts what's going on, the different frameworks you're using. You're going to be associated with multiple different types of frameworks. The workflows, if you're like OMB, your inventory. So you're going to start seeing, the details of which company you're looking at or which department you're managing from. You have multiple frameworks. In this case, we're using NIST and the OMB. You can go into each one of these, let's say going into the OMB, and you can go into the details of what's the framework, what are the controls on the frameworks, how it manages it to the requirements that your organization needs. Activities, alerts. You do your AI asset inventory. These are all components that the majority of laws are being built upon. These are some of your obvious ones, but there are a lot of AI assets, more AI assets than you realize. Then you'll come to use cases and you start creating use cases around your AI assets. What are they doing and how are they managing it? So it's not just picking a solution, but at some point you're going to have to manage what that solution is doing, because the outputs that the solution is creating has to be transparent to meet the regulatory requirements. And obviously I can go drill quite deep into all these if you'd like, but since we only have 5 minutes, we won't.
And you probably have about 2.5 minutes left. So we should.
And then I will
forward.
stop. I'm going to stop and I'm going to hand it over to Carrie to show and describe a little bit of what the state of Montana is looking at in their needs. Carrie?
Hi, so Carrie Elbro, Chief Information Officer for Department of Public Health and Human Services. We're considered a mega agency as we have health services, public health and safety, human services, Medicaid, all lives in my domain. So 3,000 employees, 200, a little over 200 IT systems that support the delivery of public health and human services across Montana. So what I wanted to talk about was in the 2023 legislative session, the legislature approved $139 million in for our long-range IT package. So think as part of that $139 million, we got our whole ask. Most of our asks were centered on the pursuit of legacy system replacements for child support, child welfare, and our health services division. So when I say legacy system replacements, I need everyone to think COBOL, function keys, and green screens. Like these are systems that have been in place for, over 20, if not in some cases 30 years. So the theme in that session was a commitment to COTS and cloud, and really kind of the opportunity to think about how we might piece together best of breed solutions as part of our procurement model and or our solution design. So pretty much once I absorbed the fact that I'm going to have to be, I'm responsible for, for the next 3 years, I will be doing nothing but implementing these new technologies. My brain very quickly went to the planning stages of the project, especially at that time, about a year ago, AI was at the forefront of everyone's mind. Our state kind of not really ready to, to fully, not that we weren't ready to embrace it, but we weren't ready to have the conversation, right? So in my head, I'm like, well, if we're going to be committed to COTS cloud, how will, governance and accountability be managed across these different vendors and AI systems? Let's say I have, 5 vendors and we're going to piece together all these great solutions, each of them with their own AI engines, right? How will security and privacy be managed? How will these systems handle and mitigate bias? How will I really understand how each vendor, each solution is detecting and measuring bias? So all of this was like on my head, like top of mind for a short period of time. And it was almost literally at that moment that I was introduced to Synergist, and we began exploring kind of this proof of concept project to determine how we might position ourselves to be better educated and prepared to move into the planning and procurement stages of these new systems, really on firm ground and understanding. And most importantly, to make certain that when we build these new solutions, we're adhering to state and federal regulations, IT system certification rules and guidelines, et cetera. So what we're doing right now in cooperation with our state IT division, we refer to them as SITSD, we are planning a proof of concept using our agency's, potentially our Medicaid enterprise system, where CMS requires that we apply the principles of modularity, is a requirement by CMS. So right now, what that looks like on paper is 13 separate COTS vendors and solutions. And the goal of the proof of concept really is to determine how best to integrate lessons learned from that POC for my Medicaid system into the planning and procurement stages of our large system replacement projects and begin to formalize governance in this space. So that's sort of, we're still in the process of designing what that POC is going to look like, and how we engage my Medicaid system and security teams in preparing ourselves to begin that project.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brad and Carrie. We are at time. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. Please, raise your hand if you have any questions. I guess my question is that, as far as the value goes for you, Carrie, what I heard is that as a CIO, like this tool helps you gather all the relevant information that you need to be informed to go into, legislative hearings or very, very big meetings. Is that right?
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. Yep.
Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Any other questions from the audience? All right. Thank you so much, Brad and Carrie. Thank you so much to all of our vendors and our public sector partners today. Again, we will send out this information after the meeting is done. We'll share the recording as well. If there's anything impactful that you heard today that you want to share out across your jurisdiction, please do. All right, so because we did have only 3 vendors today, we do have time for our working groups to provide updates today. So for those of you who want to stay on and hear about the other great work that is happening, we'd love to hear from our working groups. And I'm going to start, I think I always start with our internal LLMs group. Hemant, do you have an update for us today?
If I can.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Jamie. So we met last week, and so since we're having agenda items, Jamie, really what we went through is actually a very meaningful exercise, if you will, of further collaboration on some additional use cases. And out of that meeting, what came out was some informative guidelines of where some other organizations would like to experiment with the chatbots, for example, with Microsoft Copilot, with Google Gemini, so on and so forth. So I think we had some excellent feedback. So long story short, we didn't have any presentations, if you will, or any agenda items, free for all discussion, which I think every once in a while is very, very useful. And I thought last week for me was very meaningful, and Angela did a good job of capturing some notes that she sent upside for the team. But other than that, really I have nothing else to add, unless maybe anybody else from our team has anything else that I might have forgotten.
All right, thank you, Hemant. And really, I love the idea of just, if you have further conversations about guidelines, as we are all anticipating Microsoft Copilot, some of us are experimenting with other meeting AI assistants and other kind of generative AI tools. Those kind of guidelines are always really helpful. So looking forward to hearing more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to our translation group. And I can't remember if Andrew was going to make it to this call today. Is Andrew on here?
Hi, Jamie. No, I don't believe Andrew was able to make it. He says he was on a plane. So
Okay.
quick update, because yesterday was a holiday for some jurisdictions, we did move the translation working group meeting to this Friday. So apologies if to anyone who tried to join yesterday. One thing that we just wanted to bring up was that we are discussing a potential partnership to look into creating a shared translation model, and would really love everyone's thoughts on how that would be most helpful for them, particularly as larger players are also moving into the space.
Awesome. Wonderful, Angela. And we'll reach out with more to you all as that group comes back together and we move forward. But they've been doing some really great work targeting, public sector government language and terms, so we can create a database of translations that can be impactful across our jurisdictions. All right, our transportation working group. Do we have reps from our transportation working group for an update today?
That'll be me again, Jamie. So Sarah, our lead, they let me know that she was unable to make it to today's meeting, but she has also completed the use case guide for Port Authority of New York and New Jersey's fare evasion use case. So that is live, and we can share it out after if anyone wanted to take a look at that.
Wonderful. That's great. That was really fun to see in practice when they showed us that demo of the fare evasion and how they're using tools to track that. Wonderful. And then our final group, object detection. Do we have anyone from our object detection working group here today?
Yes, we do. Hi.
Yay. Oh.
Hi, this is Namrata from the city of San Jose. So as you guys already know, we are currently in phase 2 of our AI object detection pilot. Over the past few months, we've been exploring the use of artificial intelligence for automatic detection and reporting of obstructions in public spaces. Our AI object detection system will identify mobility barriers such as trash on sidewalks or large potholes, sharing that data with service delivery teams through SJ311. This data will inform both immediate remediation efforts and support long-term planning. We have 3 main goals, which is to improve detection capabilities, prioritize city actions, and develop a scalable data infrastructure. For phase 2, we have identified 8 objects that we would like to detect. And we are currently working out the logistics of working with vendors for phase 2 of our pilot. During the last few working group meetings, we also saw the city of Chattanooga, and they demoed their progress in this field as well. They're a few steps ahead of us and have been able to create a solution of their own that can detect potholes and map the pins on a location map for their service delivery teams to fix them. I believe they demoed their progress to the GovAI coalition users, right, Angela? And one more quick update was, which I'm going to hand it off to Angela to provide that update for the City of Virginia Beach's AI tool. Angela.
Thank you, Namrata. So Sridhar from City of Virginia Beach. So they've actually been able to implement AI to look at water levels, which is pretty important because they're right on the coast. And so they're able to get that to be pretty consistent. And I believe like about every 6 minutes or so. And so it was actually really interesting and really wonderful to see Sridhar's demo of how that works for them. We do have more elaborations in the notes, so we can also share those out after as well.
Thank you. That is all the updates from the object detection working group, Jamie.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all so much. I'm so glad to see you all. Thank you for the continued great work, both from our working groups, also again for our public sector partners and our vendors for showcasing the value of how AI can really support us in the public sector. That is all that we have for you all today. We will return for our final 2024 demo day next in November. We look forward to those of you who have signed up for the GovAI Coalition Summit in San Jose. I think it's December 4th through 5th. You can Google it if you haven't signed up and you're interested. I think there's still some spots, but just it's been amazing to come together, to see us come together. I was at the ICMA conference in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago. I got to meet Hemant. I got to meet Annie Bui. I got to meet a lot of you who are doing this work every day, and it is so exciting and powerful to be in the same spaces as you and really working to solve some of our biggest problems together. So thank you all so much for being here today. I'm really excited to continue this work. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
you.
Thank you.